Motivating unmotivated students. A common thought rolling around inside many teachers' heads is, many of my students don't appear to have any interest in learning. They just sit at their desks, heads down, lethargic. I'm sick and tired of trying to teach students who aren't motivated and who couldn't care less about being in school. It can be particularly galling to a caring teacher to observe how unmotivated students will come alive and display intense interest in things outside the classroom. The same kid who tries to sleep through class will spend hours attentively watching and listening to videos of his favorite bands. The girl who sits at her desk, staring at her lap, is likely paying avid attention to the texts she's surreptitiously sending to and receiving from her friends. And the boy who is frequently tardy and who never participates in class discussion may be fanatical about putting in the time and hard work that allows him to be a star on the soccer pitch. With most young people, the problem is not one of a general lack of motivation. The difficulty lies in getting them to become motivated as students. Since most schools don't have the budgets to have daily fireworks displays or to hire a cadre of Taylor Swifts and Justin Biebers to serve as classroom teachers, how do we go about getting students to sit up and pay attention and to become willing, interested participants in the educational process? We should begin by acknowledging that extrinsic rewards, such as grades, accolades from the teacher, and the possibility of earning an academic scholarship provides strong motivation for some students. To a degree, external rewards can be helpful in encouraging achievement and performance. However, there is a fine line to be walked here. Students whose gifts do not lie in the field of academics may get discouraged by their inability to garner rewards and give up trying. Even with high achievers, there's a danger of too much extrinsic motivation. Excessive motivation imposed from the outside can place high achievers on a performance treadmill, whereby they feel compelled to prove their worth over and over again through goal achievement. Extrinsic, or outside motivation, is at best a temporary fix, both in the classroom and in later life. The ultimate goal of a great teacher is to enable students to become self-motivated. Among the tools that great teachers can pull out of their motivational toolkits are the following. Establish a caring relationship with the student so that he knows he will be valued by his teacher no matter what. Create ways of making the curriculum, math, science, meaningful and relevant. Help the student discover her island of competence. Empower the student by asking his opinion and providing him choices. Let's examine each of these tools. Establish a caring relationship. The most important factor in helping students become self-motivated is the quality of their relationship with their teacher. Students show greater respect and work harder for a teacher that they believe cares about them. It is an indelible part of human nature that we gravitate towards those that make a positive interest in us. College recruiters trade upon this fact. University football coaches who are really good at recruiting know that establishing a good relationship with a boy and his parents is a powerful motivator in inducing a recruit to attend their school. Smart athletic programs, eager to keep kids in school once recruited, work with their student athletes' teachers, encouraging them to take an active interest in their young men. The stronger the relationship, the greater the likelihood that the kids will show up on time and pay attention in class. Also, great coaches note that young people do not want to disappoint an adult that they think respects and values them, either in the classroom or on the field. The psychology that astute college athletic programs utilize in motivating their student athletes can be applied in all classrooms. point out the relevance of the curriculum. At some point early in the class sessions, it is critical that the teacher find ways of informing students how the material being taught is relevant to their lives. For instance, students in a physics class who might otherwise be bored to tears by a lecture on kinetic energy will likely be motivated to pay attention if the lesson is referenced to bungee jumping. Students in a geometry class can be informed how an awareness of angles will likely help their pool games. Some disciplines will require more creativity than others. While it's easy to convince students that they need to learn simple math skills in order to figure batting averages, balance a checkbook, and not be cheated at the cash register, showing the relevance of Algebra 2 is a little trickier. For kids who are planning on becoming engineers or scientists, the relevance is apparent. For other students, the teacher can stress the value of working with higher math problems as a means of sharpening your critical thinking skills. The teacher can say, in the adult world, you are going to have to deal with situations that call for problem-solving skills. The equations you are going to be asked to solve in this class will help you develop those skills. Having to struggle with some problems is a good thing. Making mistakes and learning how to back out and try something different will help prepare you for life. I look forward to working with you on developing those skills. Likewise, in a science class, a teacher might say, you and I know that, for most of you, learning the periodic table is not going to be a key factor in your having a successful career. However, practicing your memory skills is terribly important. Your ability to recall things and to apply that knowledge will set you apart in the workplace. And the more we exercise our memory, the better it will become. This same line of reasoning can be shared in explaining the value of memorizing dates in a world history class or memorizing all the state capitals in a geography class. As teachers continue to exercise creativity in explaining the relevance of a particular subject, students will become more and more motivated to immerse themselves in that subject. Help students discover their islands of competence. All children have strengths that are unique to the individual, gifts and abilities that Drs. Sam Goldstein and Robert Brooks call islands of competence. We believe that every child has areas of strength that can be a source of pride and accomplishment. We encourage parents, teachers, and other adults to identify and build upon each child's unique strengths. This task is even more critical for students who struggle with learning and who often believe they are failures with few, if any, strengths. To borrow another athletic analogy, if a professional football team has an all-pro right guard and an all-pro right tackle, where do you think the majority of the running plays will be directed? To the right side, of course. Smart, successful pro football coaches always run to their strengths. Too often, adults fixate on problems that need to be corrected instead of focusing on a child's strengths. If a teacher asks questions and discovers a student's interests, that information can frequently lead to the discovery of a strength. Then, the task becomes one of encouraging that strength and helping the student to build a sense of competence around that interest or ability. For example, if a student frequently challenges a teacher and seems to enjoy verbal sparring, the teacher might have a private conversation with the student, point out the gift that is inherent in the behavior, and redirect it. Robert, you have a quick mind and a real gift for verbal expression. Only a few people have those skills. Although it can't continue to happen in this classroom, I encourage you to investigate joining the debate team and to find appropriate ways of sharpening those skills. If a student sees a teacher recognizing and supporting her gifts, it motivates the student to be a positive contributor in that teacher's class. Helping students to discover islands of competence and then reinforcing that discovery are catalysts for student self-motivation. Elicit student interest by asking for opinions and providing choices. A basic rule of effective teaching is that if you want to impart knowledge, involve your students in the learning process. Whenever possible, it is important to phrase classroom questions in a manner that invites opinions instead of rote answers. Why questions are better than what questions. For example, asking, "What did Lincoln say at Gettysburg?" probably is not going to motivate any sort of animated class discussion. On the other hand, having a volunteer read Lincoln's Gettysburg speech and then saying, "I'd like to hear your opinions. Why do you think that speech made an important contribution to race relations today?" is much more likely to jumpstart a lively discussion. Also, why questions elicit higher-level thinking skills which are transferred to other areas of learning and problem solving. Some teachers even solicit class opinions on the quality and content of a lesson that has just been taught. They will occasionally ask or provide a survey with such questions as, "What do you think about the lesson I just shared with you? Was it interesting? How could I have taught it better?" It takes a lot of ego strength upon the part of a teacher. However, listening without being defensive and then incorporating those opinions into future lesson plans is a tremendous way of motivating class interest and involvement. Another way to compel student interest is by giving them choices. Even offering students small choices can enhance their self-motivation. Brooks and Goldstein share this story. In one school we visited, teachers gave students a choice about which homework problems to do. For instance, if there were 8 math problems on a page, they told the students, "It's your choice. You have to consider all 8 problems, but do the 6 that you think will help you to learn best." The teachers reported receiving more homework of higher quality when they allowed students some degree of choice. Asking for opinions and giving students choices helps them to feel empowered, and an empowered student is an interested, self-motivated student. Summing up, motivating unmotivated students is probably the biggest classroom challenge. When you work hard on a lesson plan and then pour out your heart sharing it with a classroom of students who sit there like a box of rocks, it's spirit-killing to a caring teacher. Although you may want to shout, "I care about your education, why don't you care?" You can't. What you can do is to build your relationship with your students. Point out the relevance of the subject matter to their lives. Encourage their unique gifts and strengths. Ask for their opinions and give them choices. There's nothing magical about any of these tools. However, if you consistently apply them over time, a surge in students' self-motivation will occur. Here's a few things to remember in motivating unmotivated students. Use all the tools in your motivational toolkit. Establish a caring relationship with each and every student. Kids work harder for teachers they know care for them. Create ways of making the curriculum meaningful and relevant. Use humor when possible. Help students discover their islands of competence. Kids wake up to subjects and skills where they feel they have potential and can exercise competence. Elicit interest by asking students for their opinions and providing them choices.